The church had never felt so silent. Ethan Carter stood frozen at the altar, dressed in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, his hands trembling ever so slightly as hundreds of guests stared at him with growing confusion. The organist had stopped playing. The pastor glanced nervously toward the entrance for what felt like the 100th time. Every second stretched into another minute, and every minute tightened the knot in Ethan's chest. His bride, Vanessa, was 30 minutes late. Whispers spread through the pews like wildfire. Did something happen? Is she coming? I heard they argued yesterday. Ethan ignored every voice, refusing to believe anything was wrong. Vanessa had always been dramatic. Maybe traffic was terrible. Maybe her dress had ripped. Maybe. Then he noticed Vanessa's father walking toward him alone. The older man's face had lost all color. He held a folded envelope in shaking hands. I'm so sorry, son. The words shattered the last piece of hope Ethan had been clinging to. With numb fingers, he opened the letter. Ethan, I never meant to hurt you. I tried convincing myself this was what I wanted, but I can't do it. I'm in love with someone else, and I've left with him. You deserve someone who truly chooses you. Please don't look for me. I'm sorry. Vanessa. The paper slipped from Ethan's hand. Everything around him blurred. Years together. The proposal. The dreams. The future they had built. Gone in a single page. Embarrassment crashed over him as he realized every guest had begun to understand exactly what had happened. Some looked away in pity. Others openly whispered. Phones quietly appeared as people captured the unbelievable moment. Ethan felt smaller than he ever had in his life. Without saying a word, he stepped away from the altar and walked toward the side hallway of the church, desperate to escape the hundreds of eyes watching his heartbreak unfold. He barely reached the empty corridor before he leaned against the wall, closing his eyes. For the first time in years, he couldn't stop the tears. I knew she'd do something reckless. The soft voice startled him. He turned to find Lily, Vanessa's younger sister, standing a few feet away. Unlike everyone else, she wasn't dressed to impress. Her pale blue bridesmaid dress had become wrinkled from rushing around all morning. Her makeup was slightly smudged, and her eyes were filled with genuine sorrow. I'm sorry, she whispered. I tried to stop her. Ethan laughed bitterly. Looks like nobody could. Lily stepped closer. I found out last night. He looked at her. She confessed she'd been seeing someone else for months. The words hurt even more than the letter. Why didn't anyone tell me? I wanted to. Tears filled Lily's eyes. But she begged me not to. She promised she'd go through with the wedding. Silence settled between them. Finally Ethan spoke. I've never felt this humiliated. You shouldn't. I was abandoned in front of everyone. No. She shook her head firmly. She abandoned someone who truly loved her. For the first time all day, Ethan looked directly into someone's eyes. There was no pity there. Only kindness. The hallway grew quiet again. Then Lily glanced toward the sanctuary where confused guests still waited. They're all wondering what happens now. Ethan gave a hopeless smile. There is no now. Another silence. Then Lily took one slow step closer. Her voice became almost a whisper. I'll marry you. Ethan stared at her, certain he'd misheard. What? She swallowed nervously. I know how impossible this sounds. She looked down before continuing. I'm not asking because I pity you. She took a deep breath. I'm asking because I've loved you for 3 years. Time seemed to stop. Ethan could barely breathe. Lily smiled sadly. I kept my distance because you were my sister's fiancé. I never crossed a line. I never even hinted. But watching what she just did, she wiped away a tear. I couldn't stay silent anymore. Ethan searched her face. There wasn't desperation. There wasn't manipulation. Only honesty. You loved me? She nodded. From the day you spent Christmas helping Dad repair the old farmhouse instead of going to a luxury party. She laughed softly through her tears. You always noticed everyone except yourself. Ethan stood speechless. I know today isn't the beginning either of us imagined, Lily continued. So if your answer is no, I'll understand. She turned slightly, preparing to walk away. Then Ethan spoke. Why would you risk your relationship with your family? She looked back. Because real love isn't about avoiding difficult choices. It's about making the right one. Her answer settled deep inside him. For the first time that day, someone wasn't choosing to leave. Someone was choosing to stay. The church doors slowly opened behind them as the pastor quietly approached. He had clearly overheard enough to understand. He spoke gently. Whatever you decide, don't let today define your future. Ethan looked toward the sanctuary. Rows of guests. Flowers. Promises waiting to be spoken. Then he looked back at Lily. She wasn't demanding anything. She wasn't expecting an answer. She was simply standing beside him. Exactly where she'd chosen to be. He smiled through his tears. I don't think either of us should make a lifelong decision in the middle of heartbreak. Lily nodded immediately. I agree. But. He reached for her hand. I would like to take you to dinner. Her surprised laugh echoed through the hallway. Just dinner? For now. And after that? We'll see where honesty takes us. Months later, that dinner became another, then another, followed by quiet walks, shared dreams, and countless conversations that neither had ever expected to have. Their relationship wasn't built on revenge or replacing someone else. It was built on friendship, trust, and a love that had quietly existed long before either of them admitted it. Exactly 1 year after the wedding that never happened, Ethan stood once again inside the same church. This time, there were no whispers. No uncertainty. Only smiles. As the music began, Lily walked down the aisle wearing a simple white gown. She wasn't rescuing a broken man. She was marrying the man she had always believed deserved unconditional love. When she reached the altar, Ethan gently squeezed her hands. I thought my life ended here a year ago. Lily smiled. No. It simply waited for the right beginning. And as they exchanged their vows, everyone present realized that sometimes life's greatest heartbreak isn't the end of the story. Sometimes, it quietly leads to the person who was willing to stay when everyone else chose to leave. 1 year after Ethan and Lily exchanged their vows, their home was filled with something Ethan had once believed he would never find again: peace. It wasn't a mansion overlooking the ocean or a glamorous penthouse in the city. It was a cozy farmhouse on the edge of town, surrounded by maple trees and a white wooden fence that Lily insisted on repainting herself every spring. Every morning began with fresh coffee, laughter over burnt pancakes, and quiet conversations on the front porch before work. For Ethan, happiness no longer meant perfection. It meant coming home to someone who chose him every single day. One crisp autumn afternoon, the couple attended a charity fundraiser hosted by the local children's hospital. Ethan's construction company had donated the materials for a new pediatric wing, while Lily had organized dozens of volunteers for the event. The ballroom buzzed with music and cheerful conversation. Neither of them expected the past to walk through the front door. The room suddenly grew unusually quiet. Ethan looked toward the entrance. Standing there in an elegant black dress was Vanessa. She looked different. Her confidence had faded. The bright smile she once wore so effortlessly had disappeared, replaced by tired eyes and a nervous expression. She spotted Ethan almost immediately. For several long seconds, neither of them moved. Lily gently squeezed Ethan's hand. You don't have to talk to her. He looked at his wife and smiled softly. I'm not afraid anymore. Together, they walked across the ballroom. Vanessa swallowed hard. I wasn't sure you'd even look at me. Ethan answered calmly. Hello, Vanessa. There was no anger in his voice. No bitterness. Only distance. She lowered her eyes. I heard about the hospital project. Congratulations. You've done amazing things. Thank you. Silence settled between them. Finally Vanessa whispered, Can we talk? Lily glanced at Ethan. I'll give you a few minutes. She stepped away toward another group of guests, leaving them alone. Vanessa took a deep breath. I've rehearsed this conversation 100 times. But now that you're standing here, I don't know where to begin. Ethan waited patiently. The man I left you for. She forced a painful smile. He wasn't who I thought he was. He wanted my family's money. When it was gone, so was he. I lost everything. My job. My apartment. My friends. And every day since then. She looked directly into Ethan's eyes. I've regretted what I did. I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. Ethan listened without interrupting. She wiped away a tear. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I needed you to know. I'm truly sorry. The words hung in the air. For years, Ethan had imagined this moment. He had imagined shouting. Demanding answers. Making her feel the same pain she had caused him. Instead, he felt nothing except compassion. I forgave you a long time ago. Vanessa blinked in surprise. You did? I had to. Otherwise I would have carried that pain forever. She covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. He smiled gently. The life we planned ended that day. And the life I have now. He glanced across the ballroom. Lily was laughing with a group of children while helping them decorate cookies. Is one I wouldn't trade for anything. Vanessa followed his gaze. For the first time, she truly noticed the happiness on Ethan's face. It wasn't forced. It wasn't meant to prove anything. It was real. You love her. Ethan answered without hesitation. With all my heart. Vanessa nodded slowly. I can see that. She laughed quietly through her tears. You know something? I always thought love was excitement. Big surprises. Constant adventure. But watching the two of you, I finally understand. It's choosing someone. Every single day. Just then Lily returned with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Ethan before turning to her sister. Would you like one? Vanessa looked surprised by the kindness. Thank you. For a few minutes, the 3 of them stood together, speaking not about the past, but about their parents, old family memories, and the hospital fundraiser. The conversation wasn't perfect. Some wounds never disappeared completely. But they no longer controlled anyone's future. As the evening came to an end, Vanessa prepared to leave. Before walking away, she looked at Lily. I spent years believing you stole my life. She shook her head. The truth is, I threw it away myself. Then she embraced her younger sister. I'm sorry. Lily hugged her tightly. I forgive you. Vanessa turned toward Ethan one last time. I hope someday I find the kind of love you found. Ethan smiled warmly. You will. But next time, choose someone you can't imagine walking away from. She nodded before quietly disappearing into the crowd. On the drive home, the night sky shimmered with thousands of stars. Lily rested her head on Ethan's shoulder as he drove. "Are you okay?" He smiled. "I think tonight closed the final chapter." She reached for his hand. "No." She laughed softly. "It closed the prologue. The real story starts now." Several months later, Ethan and Lily welcomed a beautiful baby daughter into the world. As Ethan held the tiny girl for the very first time, tears filled his eyes. The nurse smiled. "What will her name be?" He looked at Lily. Together they answered, "Hope." Because hope had carried Ethan through humiliation. Hope had led Lily to speak the words that changed both their lives. And hope had turned the worst day of one man's life into the beginning of a family built not on perfect circumstances, but on unwavering love. Sometimes the greatest blessing arrives wearing the disguise of heartbreak. Sometimes the door that painfully closes is the very one protecting you from the life you were never meant to live. And sometimes, the person quietly standing beside you while the world falls apart is the one who was always meant to walk with you through every tomorrow.